We are about probably less than a couple of weeks into the Trump presidency, and it's already having significant policy changes. However, these are all things that he said during the election cycle that he planned to do when he became president. So we shouldn't be that surprised, but we need to be prepared. I had to cut in for a moment because this video is still accurate, but there have been so many things that have happened since this video. So I do want you to follow the three things that I'm going to suggest in this video. And it's really for you to protect what you already have, prepare, make sure you have a fully funded emergency fund just in case you have a layoff or, just a reduction in income, and then profit. We're going to talk about you starting a business and doing those types of things. But I didn't want to, because there's so many things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are coming out with that may impact you. And I will have videos about this in the future. But, when they froze all federal grants, they did pull back on that because it impacted a lot of people. I think that, they hadn't thought it through. For example, the University of Alabama gets a lot of grant funds for some of their research, and that would impact people, so you don't know if it's going to impact you because you don't know like how far it trickles down. So I'm sure, they're probably going to come back out line by line and, cut some things. But again, it could impact you in your employment. It could also impact you in just in your daily life. I know some people are getting like a child tax, child care credit to reduce the cost of their child care. At least in Atlanta, that did impact them briefly. So it's not that it's gone away. It's just something that is being reevaluated. So you really want to make sure you're prepared for any, increased expenses in that, in different areas, or decreased income. Of course, we have the federal buyouts and potential layoffs if you don't take the buyout, for those of you that work for the federal government or receive, again, like you said, any kind of grant funding that might be impacted. The Department of Education, and a lot of that, if you're working for a school system that might receive federal funds, that may impact you. And also, I want to say that student loans, a lot of the executive orders that President Biden put in place to change some of the payment, payment methods, income-based repayment, the SAVE plan. Don't think that Donald Trump can't do something along those lines to, or Elon Musk to say, okay, let's get more income in. There's not enough people paying on their student loans. And that could impact you, particularly if you have student loans and you're not paying the regular standard payment. So, you want to be, again, prepared, and you want to, protect what you have. So you have to start not spending frivolously, your income. We focusing on essentials. Again, just budget cuts in general. People have been asking me about some of the down payment assistance programs. Most of them are state and city funded, so they shouldn't be impacted, but it would be a good idea for you to reach out to the programs that you're considering and ask them, do you receive any federal funds for these housing programs, to see if, these first-time homebuyer programs, to see if they'll be impacted. But I will come back on this channel and let you know, okay, here's my regularly scheduled video. We're very early on in the Trump administration, but I want to make sure that you're prepared to take advantage of any policy changes. So the major things that he's talking about right now primarily are tariffs, deportations, deregulation, and then general policy changes. Like he did DEI policy changes. He did, some military policy changes. He is making all the federal workers go back to work. So those executive orders, and some of those, depending on, your occupation, it could impact you. So one, I want you to just be very aware of what's going to happen. Like, don't ignore those executive orders. You want to have a good idea. And I'm going to put a link in the description of this video to see if any of those executive orders may impact you, because this is not a time to bury your head in the sand. We have to pay attention because a lot of these things are happening very, very quickly. So let's talk about how you can be prepared to profit from this Trump administration. So number one, I want to make sure that you are invested in the stock market. I'm not going to give you any direct stock tips or anything like that. But in the past, Donald Trump has judged his success in office by the stock market. The stock market is strong, the stock market is growing. So in the Biden administration, the S&P 500, which are the 500 largest stocks, the S&P 500 went up 55%. So you would have gained 55% over the Biden administration. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went up about 39%, and the NASDAQ, which are more technology stocks, a lot of technology stocks, went up 46%. So, that is real growth, like real money. So if you're not invested in the stock market, you don't have to be like a stock market genius or anything. Just invest in those indexes. The S&P 500 is a really easy index to invest in, and I'm going to put a video that I did that just explains in very simple terms what those indexes are and how you can begin to invest in them. So I'll put that in the description as well, but I want you to be in the stock market. And either way, like stock being invested is a long-term game. So even if, so say stocks are to go down overall, they're going to go back and they're going to fluctuate, kind of like the housing market. They fluctuate, but on a historical basis, it always goes up. Real estate and the stock market. So you will have some down years, but historically you're going to have a positive return on real estate investments and a positive return on, generally speaking, well-diversified stock market investments. So I want you to be knowledgeable about this. If you have a 401k at your job, if you need to open a Roth IRA, you need to be in some kind of investment accounts. It's particularly, and I want you at least to be knowledgeable about crypto. He is a big proponent of cryptocurrency and having, much more than the Biden administration ever was. So you want to make sure that you are knowledgeable about that. So I'll put a link. There'll probably be a whole separate video on crypto, but there'll be a link on that for that as well. Number 2, lower your expenses. Now, we did not have a recession under the Biden administration. I think our last recession had to do with COVID, as far as like going down, as far as GDP going down, right? But every cycle, there's pretty much a recession. So I'm not saying there's going to be one in the Trump administration, but there could be. So you have to always be prepared. Be prepared that you're not living, and a lot of Americans do, they live beyond their means. And you don't even need to live up to your means. You're making $5,000, you're spending $5,000 every month. You're making $5,000, you're spending $6,000 every month because you're, putting things on your credit card and that sort of thing. This is not the economy because things are so expensive. And there's another component that we don't talk about that much, but AI. Artificial intelligence will take some jobs. So I think the time horizon is probably about 5 years that a lot of these middle management jobs will be taken over by AI. So a lot of companies have already, big companies like Meta, reduced some of their workforce. Other people have reduced their workforce over the years over the most recent years, because a lot of the work that used to be done by people can be done much faster by these AI models. So I really want you to think about your career and if this is something that is going to be impacted by AI. AI technology is moving so quickly that you may not have time to retrain or react. You need to start planning for that now. And one way to plan for it is to make sure you have sufficient income, a sufficient emergency fund, and that you have enough money that you're able to, like I said, you're able to invest. You're able to pay off debt if you have some. You're able not to just live paycheck to paycheck, because if you lose your job, you're not going to have time to really recover, especially if you're not trained in some of these high tech fields. You may not have time to recover in one, like you may not be able to find the same kind of job that you had before. So there's AI threats. There's just economic threats. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with the tariffs, the deportations, all of that. So you just want to be in a position where your economy you're financially stable. And that means having an emergency fund, I'm going to talk about having more income than just your regular income, but you want to make sure you're paying down debt, you're saving money, you're stabilizing your expenses, you're doing all of those things. And there will be some tax advantages that President Trump has proposed. You want to start taking advantage of those and, pay attention to what those are so you can take advantage of those. Now, number 3 is starting a business. And I've said this before. Donald Trump is very much, pro-business, right? And even small businesses. And one of the things that the advantage you get with having a business is that you can write off some of your business expenses and reduce your overall tax liability. You can be in a position where you start a business, you can hire your children in that business. There's just so many things that you can do to make sure that that whole financial stability part is, more secure. Because if you are just dependent on an outside employer. So whether you're working for the government or you're working for the private sector, it may not be as stable as it has been in the past. So I want you to have some kind of income, whether it is going to be a product business, a service business. It's very easy for you to have an online business right now, selling digital products or selling something digitally. You don't have to open up a store. You can just do something small, get your feet wet, and then as you get better with that, you can kind of scale it up and that sort of thing. But you want something that you control the income for, because if you're hourly, you have to work more hours to make more money. If you're salary, you can work really, really hard and still get the same amount. So you want to have something that you control, income that you control, and you will be able to take advantage of some of the tax benefits that go along with having a small business. So I definitely want you to do that. Like I said, it's very early into the Trump presidency. So again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but these are 3 things I think that can at least prepare you to take advantage of any of the upside to the Trump presidency. Let me know what you think. Put your questions in the comments. I would love to hear them. And I'll come, as new things, because I guess I could be a whole Trump channel with all the changes and all the trends that are happening with the administration. But I'll come, at least monthly and just kind of give an update if there's anything that's going on. I know I'm talking about, again, the public loan forgiveness, but as that was rolling out, I did videos on it, and a lot of people were able to take advantage of that because I made them more aware of it, because everybody's just you're working every day. You can't keep track of everything that's happening. And, you have to have a source to say, okay, pay attention. You can take advantage of something like this. So please, again, leave any questions in the comments. If you are not already subscribed, please like and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week.